You're on the road beyond. Welcome. I'm Todd Duplantis, and we are live at the HCC TV studios this morning. Or this afternoon, I should say. My co-host, Doug O'Brien, joining me here.
It's good that you think it's only morning, though. That means the day's not dragging on.
Or it means that the morning's lasting forever.
Right,
which
true.
Usually is the case many times.
Thanks for joining us. Make sure you like, follow, and share. You can always find us on all the social media platforms at the Road Beyond Podcast.
So last week we were on the air. Thought I was coming down with the flu, but I think it was allergies.
Well, and we were talking about that before. My allergies, I've never had a problem with allergies, and now all of a sudden it's like every day.
Yeah.
You know, every morning I wake up, you have to take some Allegra or something. It's just ridiculous, and it's not getting any better. So
no, it's just
I understand.
Spring in the Bayou City, and really across the nation as well. A lot of things going on over the last few weeks. We have got and you found this next story we're going to talk about. You sent it to me, and I'm like, what is going on here? But set up the story for us.
Well, it's amazing what you can find on the internet, really. So we all know about the Iraqi war. Yeah. And, you know, it was set up that it was to take out Saddam Hussein, bring democracy to the country.
Looking for weapons of mass destruction.
Weapons of mass destruction. Some people claimed it was about oil. Well, now we're finding out, or one conspiracy theory is that it was actually because of a Stargate device. If you remember the movie Stargate.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing how these crazy movies, one day, you know, they like, well, it's coming true. It's coming true. When's Star Wars going to come true? When's that going to happen?
Don't ask. You don't ask questions. You don't want the answer. You don't want
to. So while President George W. Bush announced the campaign was to disarm Iraq, free its people, and protect the world from grave danger, some researchers proposed the real target was a piece of advanced extraterrestrial technology, as you mentioned, an ancient stargates. Dr. Michael Salla, an Australian political scientist and author, claims Saddam Hussein possessed a portal to another world hidden beneath a Sumerian ziggurat.
Okay, first of all, I don't know what a ziggurat is.
I had to look that up too.
It sounds serious.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
If it existed,
right?
Why didn't they use it? And if they used it, why weren't they able to defend themselves better instead of running like little cowards?
Maybe they couldn't figure out how to use it.
Yeah, then you'd be nicer to people.
I'm pretty sure it didn't come with like a
instruction
manual, you know?
Well, okay, according to the movie, it does come with an instruction manual. You just need someone to read.
That was a movie. Come on.
I know. But he argues that the Stargate was left behind by an ancient civilization. We've heard the term before, the Anunnaki. They're aliens that were described in Sumerian texts.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's that? Yes, cuneiforms.
Yeah.
We don't know a lot about them. But imagine if this were true, that this is why we invaded Iraq.
Well, I'd heard this. There's one of your cuneiform templates right there. Very familiar. You know, I'd heard about stuff like this, that we were actually going over there for other reasons. There were other pieces of ancient artifacts that we needed to collect. So the rumor's been out there before.
Yes.
Whether or not we picked up a Stargate, unknown. But if they are using it, they're not going to come out and tell us they're using it.
It's just fascinating. But think about this. So the cuneiform that we showed, the whole idea is that is the text, that is the formula right there to help us understand. It's interpreted ancient myths as records of extraterrestrial activity. And that's what the fringe historians like Zachariah Sitchin. Zachariah.
I've read some of his books.
But we apparently weren't the only ones after this. Germany and France and Russia, they all wanted it too, because you can imagine. So if we all remember the movie Stargate, if we are able
once again, going back to the movie.
That's the only thing we have to reference, right?
It's pretty bad when you have to reference a sci-fi movie.
If you can go and find this portal that will allow you to travel other places, and think about this. We've had a technology boom, first in the 50s and 60s. We've had another kind of technology boom in the 90s. Think about cell phones getting smaller and more powerful. Is that possible where they got some of that?
Well, I mean, look how quickly AI has. I mean, it just came out like less than 2 years ago.
I use it at work.
Yeah, I use it every day.
I can take your voice and I can type in what I want it to
Right.
say. And like if I want you to say Doug O'Brien is the greatest DJ ever, I can make it say that.
Oh, yeah.
Or I can
Yeah.
even say it in my own voice. If I have audio of you, I can make it your voice saying it with
Right.
my inflection. And that
Well,
costs me $5 a month.
oh no, it's amazing what
It's
can be done. I
ridiculous.
mean, you want to hear new albums from the Beatles? Well, guess
Yeah.
what? You can. That'll be out there too.
Absolutely.
As soon as somebody starts, like, you want to hear a new Johnny Cash song? Well, that could be out there too.
And that's the future. We've heard it about with AI as far as movies,
Yeah.
that actors could become obsolete. But here's the one thing AI doesn't have, which gives me hope. It can't really do emotion. And
not yet.
Yeah, that's right.
Not yet.
If it does, I think you and I will be long gone,
Yeah,
I hope.
well,
But
no, it could be next year.
but if the Stargate exists, like the big concern obviously is, although we can travel to other places, it means people from there
can travel
could
here.
also travel here.
Which, there's been a theory about the whole UFO, UAP phenomenon, that it could be time travelers coming back and viewing history as it's being made. I mean, I'd think there'd be more. I don't know, just my own opinion. I don't think we're in the most interesting of times. I'd like to go back and see what happened, on the field of Gettysburg or something like that.
They may be coming back to find out how not to do things as a civilization,
or
to go
look out where they screwed up and how to fix it.
Let's avoid this again in the future.
Yeah, let's see how we can fix this timeline. But back to the the Stargate. Say we have this technology,
right?
They're not going to let us know, but I think it was the current administration's Department of Defense spokesperson was doing a press conference. I believe it was last week. You can look it up on X, formerly known as Twitter. But he just casually threw out there, said something along the lines of, well, we've got technology that's just going to blow your mind, referring to, and the president even referenced that a couple of weeks ago in a press conference. So there's stuff out there that I'm hearing, can bend time,
I think,
and all that.
I think all that is definitely possible. When I hear people, particularly in the government, saying that we've got stuff that'll blow your mind, first, I imagine whose mind is talking to me, to really it wouldn't take much to blow some people's minds. But the whole Stargate idea is just fascinating. Rumor has it that not only was it found, but now it's where in Area 51, I think.
Which I think Area 51 is the biggest nothing burger out there.
It's the big bugaboo.
They want you to think Area 51 has something out there.
Which means that it's everywhere else. It's like a magician.
Yeah, well, there's really an Area 52.
Yeah, so that's
where it is, Area 52.
They want you to look here, and they're doing whatever over here.
Exactly.
So I think there's a lot of that. But again, we want to stress that this is merely a conspiracy. It is not widely accepted, but it sure is entertaining.
Well, it's funny how nowadays, all these conspiracy theories are turning out to kind of be true.
Yeah.
For, 10 years ago, doing a show like this, talking about UFOs, aliens, people are going to be like putting little hats, tinfoil hats on you. Nowadays, you've got congressional hearings and you've got members of Congress who formed committees because they're saying the government's not giving us the real information. Really?
But that's really what drives it. Like you said, back in the day, there was more trust in the government. There was more trust that we were getting all the information. But now, the more something is hidden, the more we believe you're hiding it for a reason.
For a reason,
Other than there's nothing there. It's like we want to see it ourselves. We've become this society where it's like, show me what's there or what's not there. And there's just so much distrust that's why we have a show like this, because there is all of that all those questions out there.
A few weeks ago, we were questioning the JFK documents, which had been released. Now, did you know the RFK files are released?
Yes, as a matter of fact, it was just
online.
It was just the anniversary, I believe, of either not him being shot, but I think of Sirhan either being sentenced or dying. It was one or the other. But I think there's so much information. You can get information overload. And again, it's hard to believe, like, what's true, what's not true, what sites can you trust? I mean, we've gotten to where we don't trust even AP or CNN or Fox, much less some of the other sites.
A lot of these news agencies have really gotten themselves in their own mess.
Absolutely,
and they've been
100%
exposed.
true.
Before it was like, that's got to be the gold standard of journalism. Well, guess what? It's not anymore.
Right.
The independent journalists are really what's getting the information out there.
And it's also been, we've heard fake news all the time. And I don't think it's really, you can't really do fake news and be a trusted organization, but it's definitely spun news. Here are the facts, but here's what we're going to tell you.
This is what we want you to really believe about it.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. They have caused it themselves, all of them.
Well, we've got, we're going to continue our interesting stories in the next segment where we'll talk about a UFO, Russia, and some stone soldiers. And I'm not talking ones that have been like smoking something. We're talking turned into stone. All that more coming up when the Road Beyond podcast continues in 60 seconds.
When I grow up, I want to work in a lab to build robots.
From classroom to career, we're with you every step. Register for real-world education at hccs.edu.
Things could be stranger, but I don't know how. I'm going through changes now. Could spend a lifetime trying to figure it out. I'm going through changes, through all of the strangeness. I'm going through changes now.
Where's your emergency?
Welcome back to the Road Beyond podcast. Make sure you like, follow, and share. You can find us on all social media sites at the thing I just said, at the Road Beyond podcast. We try to make it simple.
Make it simple for you. Another story, newly classified CIA documents, Doug, is turning heads this week with claims that read like a science fiction book. The report alleges that Soviet troops, follow me on this, shot down a UFO in the late 1980s, and the aftermath is pretty extraordinary.
Okay, according to this file, which I have not heard about this until you brought it to my attention. So this saucer-shaped craft appears, they actually fire a missile, knock it down. 5 little dudes that you expect to see come out of one of these spacecrafts comes out. But then, the Soviets, they have to do it a little differently. They said they all 5 came together into a glowing ball of light. And it's not just that, but they emitted a blinding flash of light.
So just when you think things sound normal, it gets weirder. The result, 23 soldiers were instantly turned into what was called stone poles. Chemically identical to limestone. Only 2 soldiers survived. This blows my mind because they were shielded by shade at the time of the blast.
Really, that's all it took?
That's all it took was shade.
Just a little bit of shade.
A little bit, they threw some shade on them.
See, to me, though, this sounds very suspicious because it's too much like...
Oh, really? Yeah, this is the suspicious one.
Well, no, but just that...
We're fine with cuneiform tablets.
Absolutely.
The Stargate.
Stargate I'm into.
Yeah.
But no, but it sounds like the story from the Bible with Lot's wife.
That's exactly what I was Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right.
Yeah, it's that. I was thinking that exact thought. Now, the petrified remains of the troop, they recovered those as well.
That's what they say. They've been transported, of course, it's the Soviet Union, to a secret lab near Moscow. But they believe that it involved, I got to read this here, a type of energy unknown to Earth, capable of instantly altering organic matter at the molecular level. Now, can you explain that a little better for those of us that are not scientists? Because I'm a DJ, so.
They turned them into stone.
Okay.
Yeah. That was,
so they rearranged their molecules.
Yeah, they rearranged their molecules into limestone is what they're
So it's kind of like what we'd see on Star Trek. All of my references are pop culture. When they would be transported, they would rearrange the molecules. But okay. Well,
I was thinking Clash of the Titans, Medusa,
Okay.
more along those lines. I mean, this thing
and there's
goes back
another
in
one.
history.
There's another one,
Yeah.
the Medusa, where they turn them into stone. So
Right.
I think the Soviets, I don't know. I got questions, but the fact, yeah, I got questions.
I got lots
on
of questions about this.
But the fact that the CIA has felt the need to document this, it still gives it a little weight. Like, why would they, if this was all just BS, then why would the CIA feel the need to keep some
they're
records on
holding
it?
a Stargate and keeping that from us as well. So why not some stoned Russian soldiers?
I'll let you say, you wrote that, you say that line, I refuse.
This is a story that refuses to fossilize.
Oh, that's almost as bad as the Soviets.
Hey, what do you want?
But
you gotta use
I do think, now look, we have had stories like this before. I believe there was one in England where the military guys saw a UFO and it landed and there was a bright light. None of them were fossilized. It was near the Air Force base.
I know. Yeah, exactly. It's a very, very, very popular. Case.
But nobody got turned into stone. That's where they lose me. I believe the UFO part, even the little guy.
I was gonna say, you little guys form. Maybe they were like a transformer. They could have, or Avengers.
No, that's where they start. They went off the rails. Like even with a conspiracy, you have to keep it somewhat realistic.
You got it. You don't want to go too far off the rails.
Not at all.
Bring them back in. On a different subject, one of absolutely my favorite James Bond movie, Live and Let Die. Love the music, love the song. Of course, Roger Moore, awesome. And especially this scene. Now, little known fact, it took 5 takes. Remember when the guy runs across the crocodiles?
Yes.
There you go. There's James Bond right there. Well, this is a stunt man, Russ Kananga, and he didn't make it on the first take. Here are all 5 takes. Now,
those are real
crocodiles. Now, the legs were tied down, but their tails and mouths were left free. And as you can see, Ross didn't make it. In fact, he made it on the 5th one, which I'm surprised he could keep moving.
And look, the crocodiles are ready.
Oh, yeah.
Like on the 3rd take,
they're like, has him in his mouth, has his leg in the mouth.
But they're already turning toward him as he's running. He's like, okay,
this is on a crocodile farm in Jamaica.
Look.
There's another one. Yeah. And watch, he's going to get stuck in the water. And there he goes on his leg. He actually had to receive 193 stitches from injuries sustained during the stunt.
It went through his shoe on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that? That's
nuts. How did he make the final one? I think this was the one that, he made it all across. Amazing. Didn't happen once, but great scene. Very memorable if you remember seeing the movie.
Yeah.
But you know how much money he made on this? Not enough.
Yeah.
In today's money, $400,000.
So back then, that he was probably 100,000, 150.
Yeah. But that's almost what, $500,000.
That is not nearly enough.
That's not nearly enough to get chewed on by alligators.
Stuntmen, I mean, for what they do to their bodies, and I mean, just I would love to be in that meeting though, when they're like, "Hey, Russ, got an idea." Here's what I'm thinking.
He's like, all right, I'm
5 crocodiles, you run across on the backs of them. And but he's an Aussie, and they're little Aussies are built differently.
They are, yeah.
I could see him going, all right, mate.
All right, let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, done it before.
Well, amazing stunt, and you got to wonder, would these stunts have been done today?
Oh, there's no way.
First of all, PETA wouldn't allow them to tie down the crocodiles.
There is no way. I mean, even if you just look at some of the movies and the subject matter, the way, because everyone is so sensitive now,
right.
Whether it's to the animals or to the environment or to each other.
Or how about to the guy who had 193 stitches in his leg?
Well, yeah, but even James Bond, when you think about what we grew up with, it was a bit sexual and womanizing, and that has had to change over the years. It's still there, but it's
we don't know if it's still going to be there because
they don't have a new James Bond yet.
Yeah, which Daniel Craig.
Yep.
In my opinion, one of the best James Bond. Next to Sean Connery, Roger Moore. I think I'd go with that. Would be my personal opinion on that. But he's no longer making the movies. They've got new producers for the first time in the series.
You know who owns the rights to it now, don't you?
It's Disney?
No, Amazon.
That's right.
Jeff Bezos actually put out, he wanted suggestions for who the next Bond should be. There was talk of Idris Elba.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Which would be a first because he would be person of color playing.
I also heard the guy who was Henry, what's his name? Henry Cavill.
Cavill,
Yeah, I've heard his name.
There's been talk of a woman. They did it with Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So there's been talk of a female James Bond, which would totally flip everything on its head. Would they make her manonizer? Is that
I don't know where that would go with one,
but we don't know yet. They haven't decided.
They did change James Bond with the Daniel Craig films.
Yes,
he wasn't as much of this guy that was going after the women, all the women. He was more of a action hero.
Yeah, more of a I don't want to say John Wick, but
more along the lines of John Wick, but rated R, full on James Bond films, and most of them, I think, in that series worked.
Absolutely. There haven't been very many of the James Bond movies that have really just been horrible. I was a huge fan of Pierce Brosnan when he did it. I wish he had gotten it earlier. That's a whole nother story.
That was
because he was doing Remington Steele and couldn't get out. But Roger Moore, to me, is he is the epitome of James Bond.
Was great. Because Sean Connery, I think nobody could replace him because he was the first. Roger Moore had more of a flair.
You had Roger Lazenby. Was actually
George Lazenby.
George Lazenby. Thank you. Yes, George Lazenby. But to me, Roger Moore had that schoolboy charm.
Yeah.
So that the womanizing came off playful.
He got away
at
with
the time.
Well, did you know that what's his name? The guy who when Pierce Brosnan couldn't go in, it was Timothy Dalton.
Yes, Timothy Dalton.
Did you know that he was considered for the role when Roger Moore took over?
No, I didn't know that.
I did not either. I didn't realize.
Wow.
First, I didn't realize he was that old. But yeah, he was considered for when he didn't want to do it then. And then when Pierce Brosnan couldn't take the role because of that TV show he was on, then Remington Steele.
Yes, that's right.
Then they had Timothy Dalton. So little trivia.
I think it would be fascinating to see who they choose, because do they switch it up completely and get a Timothy Chalamet?
One of younger
guys, someone who could take the franchise for the next 20 years. But I guarantee you there will be no stunts like that. That is why they created AI that we were talking about earlier. That's why they did it right there.
Well, we don't have any more AI-generated videos for you the rest of the show, but we do have some very interesting, more alligator videos and bare necessities. We're going to take one final break. We'll be back in 60 seconds with more of the Road Beyond podcast.
When I grow up, I want to work in a hospital.
From classroom to career, we're with you every step. Register for real-world education at hccs.edu.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Welcome back to the Road Beyond podcast. Again, don't forget to like, follow, and share. By the way, today is National Superhero Day.
Oh, man.
I want to throw that out there.
I forgot. Yeah, I did get that notice.
That's why I'm wearing my
Clark Kent glasses.
And my
oh, yeah, you got
t-shirt. Yeah, I gotta be prepared. But it's time for one of our favorite segments.
It's called
Bare Necessities.
Take a look at this one. We like to call this one Scared Bear, and listen to this as well. Love the sound. Bear's like, I'm out of here. You gotta love that. Bear just casually walks up on this dude. This dude's scared, but obviously the bear is more scared of him.
Neither one of them knew what to do.
How do we handle this situation?
The guy is like, he's trapped against the screen wall there, and the bear is like, I was not expecting this.
I did not plan for this.
Do I run? Like, they really
even
are.
Shrieks as it runs away.
They really are as scared of us as we are of them. Just don't corner them. But
I wouldn't try that with a grizzly bear.
Just imagine, just take 1 second, everybody, and just imagine you're laying out on your porch
Yeah.
just chilling, and you look over, and there's
a bear.
Yeah.
And you're both like, what do we do? Do I talk first? You talk first? How's this going to work out?
Well, your brain is going 90 miles an hour. How do I get out of this
How do I
alive?
get out of this one?
Right. That is nuts.
Okay, so we're branching out a little bit for bare necessities, where we can include other species as well.
This is a cool one because you were talking about the James Bond movie and the crocodiles. Check out this alligator would like to say hello and come in.
And they ring the doorbell, the ring doorbell.
Camera.
Yeah, and it's not only one crocodile.
No,
he's alligator. Yeah. He's got a friend with him as well.
You remember, I don't know if everybody remembers back in the day, if you were roommates and you had a girl over, you'd put like a clothes hanger or a tie on the doorknob so don't come in.
Right, yeah.
And he's like, dude, there's nothing on the doorknob.
Yeah.
I got a date. I'm trying to come in.
Just of course, proof that you should just not automatically just open your door.
Absolutely. And by the way, do you know where that took place?
Let me guess, Florida?
Florida.
Yeah, wow.
100% Florida.
There's a surprise.
If anybody has videos like that,
send them to us.
Please send them to us at the Road Beyond podcast, because it has to be happening. I know, like down in Alvin, Pearland, or up in Liberty, it's got to be happening.
Well, it's, when I was in news, once a year, we always knew that you were going to get a cow on a freeway.
Oh, yes.
A bull on a freeway. Yep. And then sooner or later, a officer would have to wrangle an alligator.
Oh, yeah.
And every few months, that story would happen.
Yeah. Well, it happened with the cows just recently after rodeo.
And they were from the rodeo. They got loose.
From the rodeo. They got loose.
I think it was like 11 of them.
Yeah, on I-45.
One of them they never found,
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of them still wandering around Conroe.
Yeah, I woke up to the news of that one morning. It was like, really? And so stuff like that.
They obviously didn't do a good job in keeping them wrangled.
Right. But clearly, I mean, this is what happens as we get farther out in the country. Right. People want to get outside. I love the city, so I have human animals to deal with.
Yeah. And
but I haven't seen anything too crazy. But we went to Galveston this weekend and saw jellyfish and coconuts. So everything is.
That sounded like a drink.
Yeah, no, there was no drinks were involved.
We are quickly out of time. Went by really fast. We appreciate you joining us for this week's show, and we look forward to seeing you next week as well.
Absolutely. I'm Doug O'Brien on the Road Beyond podcast.
I'm Todd Duplantis. We'll see you next week.